as you know, the reason why we started this process is because at Arduino we've got a lot of applications regarding help on the use of Arduino boards on ventilators, and then of course there was also a ton of projects that were dealing with other issues around solving small things on a day-to-day basis that were using Arduino, mostly Arduino Uno and Arduino Mega boards. So we wanted to bring these cases up because we really want to help you guys, and the way to do it is by letting us know how far you are in your project. So when you present, since you only have 5 minutes, I will ask you to please go straight to the point. I think Robert's presentation gave a pretty good introduction to the absolute basics of ventilators, so I don't think we need to talk about that. I think you should focus on how far you made it so far, which are the challenges that you are facing, and how how far you are from real delivery. Okay, Ignacio, since you took the floor, I think you start. Ignacio, you started sharing your screen, so I'm going to unmute you, so you're going to be the one starting now.
It's a little helpful to see which is now the concept, and is kind of concept that it is a little different for the normal or standard concept that you have seen till now using ambush. Normally all the project that has been presented this morning, as you see in the Cotec Foundation here in Spain, has been using ambush with mechanical pushing. So mechanical engines that push the ambu, and then the problem with all of these engines is that logically are running practically in a steady mode. So our approach is kind of different, taking in account that we will use a cuff from for example, a normal tensiometer, or even kind of bag surrounding the ambu, and then using pressure, the outside pressure, to push the ambu. So the idea is that we can in any time stop the pressure of the ambu, or increase the pressure, or even change any kind of number of breaths per minute, taking in account that we will of course get the pressure coming from the breath of the patient, and then logically push or not push the device surrounding the ambu. All of that, of course, is controlled by the Arduino, and Arduino is fed with a program that I have, practically is the team that we have here in the Polytechnic University, that we have developed using reinforcement learning in MATLAB. So now we have the MATLAB development, and we feed the Arduino. What are we looking now for the Arduino community? Well, the idea is that at the end, Arduino is having the sensor, the pressure, or several pressures. That is a very good idea. Even oximeter, that was another sensor that was that we were looking to implement. And so with all of these sensors, we feed in the program, in the reinforcement learning, and at the end we control an air pump. Finish. So anyone that has implemented in an Arduino an air pump like the ones that is normally used with this kind of device, it could be very helpful for us. We will now implement all this device. Next week on Monday, we will start making tests in the University of Francisco Vitoria, you know where is Cesar, and we will use all the people in the pharmacy and medicines laboratories, and of course, doctor of these laboratories to implement with the money key all of this setup. Okay?
Yes.
I cannot hear you. Sorry.
Yes. Yeah, I think it
I'm
was
talking silence.
quite clear. I don't know if anyone has any question. I will suggest for the following presentations, given that the time is limited, that if you have any questions during the presentation, you can write it down in the chat. And after the 4-minute presentation, we will just talk them aloud or just put the voice to them, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
So I do have a question for Ignacio, because you said that you're going to start some trials next week. So how far have you tested it until now? So you just tried the machine on, on air, so no humans have been trying it out so far?
Not so far. And even I have making all these tests only simulating in the MATLAB Simulink environment. So even I have not tested with a physical Arduino because practically now Arduino without all the rest is kind of unnecessary. So even the idea is to have all this setup or this weekend to start all the tests on Monday or even tomorrow to have the possibility to speed up. Because as you know, here in Spain, the problem is that all the developments that has been presented to our government has been rejected, all of them.
Okay, thank you so much. For anybody that's interested, we will discuss about the Spanish case during the legal panel because we have a lot of information on that. Thank you, Ignacio. There seem to be no quick questions right now. So we move to the next group. Well, I would suggest Edwin Chu to be the next one. So we can unmute you. And if you want to take the screen, please, Ignacio should stop sharing the screen. Oh, I can do it for you. And Edwin, if you want to start, please unmute yourself and share your screen if you want to show anything.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Pleased to meet you all and bringing the screen up now. Okay, my name is Edwin. I am here with a project called RespiraWorks. We're a team of about 40 engineers, doctors, and project managers and others helping us out. This is what we're building. We are trying to build a minimum feature set that is appropriate for treating ARDS specifically caused by COVID-19. So it's a sort of a reduced feature set, but trying to hit at least the minimum viable functionality for taking a patient all the way through the progression of ARDS, all the way through to full recovery. This is difficult, as mentioned before, because the condition of the patient changes, the compliance and resistance of the lung changes. And so the design must be able to accommodate those. And so to pursue that, our goal is to provide 2 modes of ventilation. In particular, the assist control ventilation, which detects the patient breath, the patient inspiratory effort, and then provides supporting pressure at various degrees of support to change the amount of assist. And then also for patients that are incapable of breathing at all on their own, the pressure regulated volume controlled mode of operation, where the automated control of the ventilator controls the entire breathing cycle. So what I can show here is a sensor plot. So this is a plot of data from our device, from our prototype run. And you can see the commanded pressure in the blue line here, the patient pressure in the red line here, and in the orange line, the volume measurement that we are taking. And so we have closed loop control, commandability of the inspiration, expiration, timing ratio, the peak inspiratory pressure, plateau pressure, and the positive end expiratory pressure, or PEEP. and each of these can be controlled individually and separately. The final design will have an interface computer, which will host a touchscreen. It's just the simplest and cheapest way to provide controls. And that is separate from the real-time controller for reliability and safety purposes. The real-time controller at this time is an Arduino Nano. If we have the, can I turn on video here? Is that?
Yeah, you can totally share. You can share your screen, and whatever you show on your screen will show up on the video. No problem.
Okay. But we, I can't seem to turn my video camera on. I can actually show the prototype here. If that doesn't work, I have a preloaded video that I can play. Essentially, our design is based around the closed loop control of a blower fan. The unit we're using right now is from a CPAP machine. And it seems like we can reliably get them in the hundreds to thousands from our supply chain. And I'm looking for my own video here. So I don't know if I can't seem to share the video, but I'll share it from the screen so that you can see. My apologies there, but here, can you see this?
Yeah.
So we have a blower. There's our, I'll just let the video do the so we have a blower here, we have motor control, and the Arduino here controlling the closed loop breathing cycle. Our pressure sensor here, which is essentially a differential pressure across an orifice. This is our test lung that we're using to perform this test. And then there's also a patient pressure sensor here so that we can control both volume and pressure independently. Our initial focus is we're working with a hospital in Guatemala, Hospital Atlan, to provide them with ventilators there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I have.
So there's a couple of questions for you.
Yes.
So first of all, there's a question of whether it's a DC motor with encoder. They're asking on YouTube.
Yes, it is an encoder.
Okay. And of course, there's a question that says that whether these devices require medical approval, such as FDA. You can just say yes or no, and then we can discuss this further on the legal panel later.
Yeah, we don't think that we can reasonably expect to get FDA approval in the shortened time frame, and so we are focusing primarily on countries that will be underserved by the global manufacturing push right now. We hope that most countries with stringent medical restrictions will be served by the present manufacturing push by major manufacturers, and we're really trying to focus on countries that won't have that benefit.
Okay, great. So there's another question here. What are the parameters that are required to control the rate of the pumping, blood pressure, air pressure? I know this question is a bit basic, but I think it's worth answering.
Yeah, that's a sort of a question of like minimum viable capability to treat the disease. And so far, we believe, and talking with the doctors on our team, that with patient pressure sensing and inspiratory and expiratory volume sensing, we will be able to achieve both the PCV, PRVC, and the AC ventilation modes that are required.
So yeah, there's another question here just for you to confirm. Like, okay, so the whole concept is about to pump air in closed loop control with blood pressure rate?
No, we don't measure blood pressure.
Okay.
It's breathing rate, the inspiratory, expiratory, timing ratio, and the PEEP and the pit pressure.
Yeah. I think this was explained earlier by Robert pretty well as well, but it's normal that we will get these questions because people are extremely curious right now. I bet there is a lot of people that would like to also help out building their own machine. So, so there is
David,
one more question.
Let me also add one interesting thing. It's very important to note that since the maximum pressure would eventually blow up the patient lungs, it's important to have some mechanical safeguards such as max pressure valves. So don't even think about controlling max pressure with sensors and microcontrollers.
Okay.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's not in this prototype here, but the final design has a pressure relief valve.
Okay. Great. And there is two more questions, and then we close this panel because otherwise we run out of time. So is there a filter for the air? And if so,
yes,
where?
There will be an inlet and outlet HEPA filter.
Okay.
So this is more visible in this design where you can see the filters.
Okay. Thanks.
And we'll begin building this next week.
Yeah. And the final question, which is like of course, we have to ask this: is the design open source?
It will be. I think right now we're still in the prototype phase. So before we have something that we are confident works, we don't want to irresponsibly release it to the public.
So are you planning medical trials at some point?
Yes. So we're working with a number of doctors. So of course, this will be tested on mechanical simulators first before being used on any actual live patients.
Okay. Perfect. So I think Robert is posting also a comment saying I would not describe it as purely a CPAP ventilator since the breathing is dynamic. And then also he has another comment that he disagrees that is responsible to open source early. So I think Robert and I are on the same political stance when it comes to open source. So there is different takes on this. I don't think we should discuss about this right now because we could talk for hours. So thank you very much, Edwin.
Thank you, everyone.
Give you a high five from Sweden.
Wonderful.
And we jump to the next group. Who can we take? So Marin Davide, if you would like to be the next. Oh, Robert said he was answering the attendees with those questions. They were not exactly for you. So I'm sorry. I was just taking the questions from, or the answers from Robert as if they were for you as well. Okay. Marin Davide, yeah, you have the microphone open if you want to share your screen.
Yeah, hello, hi.
Hey.
And okay, I should be able to share the screen also. Okay, so hello, I'm a designer. Normally I design mechanical machines, and I have put up a small suggestion for a design that is shared on GrabCAD also, so everybody can take this and modify. Basically, the idea is to have a simple device that can mechanically actuate the ambu bags. And the idea is to use common parts, so this design can be replicated in developing countries or similar places. So it uses a high helix screw bar and common parts for a FDM machine like the stepper motor and Arduino and controls. And yes, it's a very simple design. Someone I think that is already taking this design further and improving and making it better. And yes, I think that's all. I don't want to take this too much long. So, yep, that's it.
Okay, so you're presenting this mechanical design. So I think we could take a couple of minutes to eventually give you some comments. So if anybody else has mechanical designs would like to bring up any kind of questions, this is your opportunity.
I would ask probably the dumbest question on the earth, but this kind of designs usually seem pretty complex. And I suppose that 3D printing will not be robust enough. So what is, according to you, to your experience, the best way, the best advice to give to who wants to design similar things to make them, let's say, easily replicable, but at the same time robust and functional?
Yeah, on the GrabCAD page, I uploaded also a simpler design that uses laser cut or CNC cut acrylic. So it's simpler and faster to be made. There are still some parts missing, some like connectors, but the idea is that, yes, it's simpler to make than the 3D printed version.
Okay. Thank you so much. We don't seem to be having a lot more questions, and we are running, a bit a bit late. So we will jump to the next. Thank you, Marin.
Thank you.
Actually, I just want to ask: are you Marin Davide or Davide Marin?
Marin is the surname. David is the name. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. We've been calling you wrong the whole day.
That's
Sorry.
no problem at all.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we will take next Rea Mima project. So if you would like to open the microphone and start sharing your video, please.
Hi, can you see
Yes.
the slides? Okay. Hi, my name is Miguel Madrid. I have been working 25 years in automation. And oops, I think that I have put the wrong monitor. Okay. My project guide for the project is that the air is more complicated to handle. Water is more easy to handle, and you can see the water, what happened with the water. My wife knows very well because the prototypes has been made in my kitchen, and my wife knows that the water has been in every part of the kitchen. I have seen that an bamboo is a thing that is not so easy to get, but you can get items to make a project in all the hardware shops, pet shops, electronic shops in all the world. I have been thinking in a reliable product that you know that everything will work in any case. And I have think in very simple stuff that you can put together to get a ventilator. Also very cheap components to make redundancy of sensor of all the things that you have in the project. The hardware is very simple. You can see two boxes with two water pumps and one bottle that is connected to the ventilator. You have one CPU, one Arduino, PLC, schematic, and so on. One small screen with buttons in order that the doctor could put the values to the machine. And in this case, we have an ultrasonic sensor to know the volume of the water that you are going to use, one pressure sensor, and the relay that control the water pumps. You have here all the stuff that you need to make the project. At the beginning of the inspiration, you have all the water in the right tank and a few water in the left tank, so the air can go into the bottle. When start the inspiration, the Arduino will send the order to the relay to start the water pump. The water fill the bottle. The level of the water is controlled by the ultrasonic and also the pressure sensor. And when finished the inspiration, in the expiration, you send back the water to the right tank that you have in the slide. The improves that you can make in the system, for example, put an air diffuser for breathing that will get the right humidity to the air for the patient. A tank heater to get the right temperature to the air for the patient that you have in the system. You can put another system for the expiration in order to keep the PEEP value that you need in the system, and also an ultraviolet lamp to sterilize the water of the system. You have videos of the prototype, all the math that I have used, the code for Arduino, and everything in the web page that I have created this week.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any questions from anybody at the community for this presentation? It doesn't. So it seems like what we have is a comment from Bob Martin, and Bob Martin made a comment to Robert, but I think maybe interesting. There's a Michigan Instruments has lung simulators in case you people would like to be testing it. Sherman Chen says it's a simple concept, and Edwin comments it's a great work. And Ethan Moses is asking whether tank pumps, the airflow sealed or open.
Make both. You can make open in the case that you have nothing, or you can make closed, and you can make another tank to use a mixer of oxygen plus air, air through water to get the right humidity and warm the air. You can make everything.
Ethan Moses comments again, says like he had a similar idea, but with an open tank. And he thinks they will need a very deep pump to achieve enough water pressure to achieve, for example, 45 millimeters or of Hg.
40 millimeters only. So, with a tank of half a meter, you have enough to create the pressure that you need.
Okay. It looks like we have another question. Do you have thought about I can say this word about hydrolyzing water for oxygen surgery?
I did not understand this
it says
question.
Like if you had thought about hydrolyzed water. I mean, I'm just reading the question, so I cannot tell you much more than this. I don't know if hydrolyzed water makes any sense to anybody. If somebody in the chat would like to, yeah. Francesco Antoniela asks, what about rhythm and pressure?
Rhythm
and pressures.
Rhythm and pressure. In the web that I has created, you have everything, all the math calculation, because I have put the calculation to select the right pump, the right water pump, in order that the frequency that you want to the respiration, and everything is in the web. And also I has put my email in order that you want to make any question.
So there is another question here. Well, this question from David Thrower. Well, there will be a recording. Well, we're streaming live on YouTube, David, and of course, everything's going to be recorded, and even the second track will be placed on a second YouTube stream later on. So everything will be up and public. Darius also asking, saying that it will be better to maybe use a water level sensor instead of ultrasound. I wonder myself also whether this is just a choice because it's a sensor you had at hand, or whether you think it's a better option for checking out the water level.
With this water level, I have enough precision to get 1 centimeter of water.
Okay, so you think that the ultrasound sensor is good enough, and it's also super cheap, right?
More accuracy than the water sensor.
Okay. Okay, Ethan Moses is trying to explain the hydrolysis question from before. He's saying that maybe putting an anode or a cathode under the pump bottle in order to make the either oxygen or hydrogen, so that would add oxygen to the pumped air. He's commenting also that he thinks that this idea is a crazily inefficient idea, but funny and clever, and maybe shouldn't be immediately dismissed.
Yes, I have dismissed this question because when you make the anode and cathode, you get a lot of dust and debris in the water.
Okay, so then it's actually a bad solution. Okay. Then also they're asking which is the best Arduino board for this effort.
For this effort, you need to get a high precision, and it's necessary to get a time from the beginning to the end of the program of 10-20 milliseconds. So I prefer to get the faster one that you can get in the shop.
Okay. And then the other question is whether the water will have the needed speed to generate 20 BPM. So I think you answered this question. You said that
yes.
you have all the calculations on your website.
You can see all the calculation, all the math in the web page.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. You actually had quite a lot of questions. I think you gave us a lot of food for thought. So thank you so much. And we're going to change the next presenter. So Sherman Chen, if you would like to be the next one, please. Yeah, Sherman, you see their microphone is unmuted, but we can't hear you. And also can't see your screen or anything. In the meantime, there is thank you comments for all the presenters until now, by the way. I think everybody's appreciating the work you guys made to present here today.
All right. Can you guys hear me
we
now?
can hear you now.
Great. Okay, let me share my screen. You should be able to see the screen now, yeah?
Yeah, we're seeing your screen.
So I'm from Singapore, right? So in the Southeast Asia region, my team and I, we are non-medical professionals. We are actually just hobbyists, makers, and one of our teammates actually runs a local manufacturing firm here. So he has a manufacturing plant. He has the 3D printers. He has the fabrication machines. He has the ability to help us push out the production units at a later time when we get there. But right now, the very first thing that I have done is I have spoken to a few of the healthcare professionals in the region. I have friends working in the hospitals in Malaysia, Indonesia, and even in Singapore as well. So what I've understand so far is that when it comes to looking at suitable portable ventilator designs, one of the most suitable one right now is actually the Medtronic, which recently has been released. I believe some of you guys have heard about it. So the Medtronic PB560 model is one of the closest models that we can sort of use as a blueprint. So we don't really need to build from scratch. Now, the downside, the challenge of this, trying to build this is that if you were to look at the schematics, the design, the blueprints, they are actually not very helpful. I can just open it up and you guys can see. Let me. So everything on this design, I mean, okay, so number one, there are parts that are being used that apparently isn't available in our local region. I bought a lot of electronics from different distributors before. You talk about Mouser, you talk about, for example, Mouser. I bought a lot of things from Mouser. Some of the electronic parts that are being used in this original blueprint design is not available in our region. So so what happens is that I've started to look for suitable compatible replacements. So one of the MCUs initially me and my team were thinking about is STM. We were thinking about using STM ARM processors. So then eventually I saw the ad about Arduino wanting to do conference. So I started thinking about the alternative of using Arduino. And then we managed to shortlist the option to thinking about using the Arduino Due or possibly Arduino Mega. So what we really want to do is to come up with a design that is low power, right? Because the whole idea of having a portable ventilator is so that, it can be used over a long period of time. If you have been following the news, you know that a lot of the patients, when they go onto a ventilator, they are on the ventilator for up to 3 weeks, right? So this portable ventilator has to be able to last that long, right? While still doing what it's supposed to do. So that is one of the things that we are trying to think about right now. And obviously, we want to collaborate with other makers in this community like you guys, sharing notes, comparing notes, and see how we can work together, because reverse engineering this device is not going to be easy. If you were to really download the schematics and look at it, it's available online. You can go to a Medtronic website. There is not a lot of helpful information. They shared a certain percentage, a portion of their design, but they didn't share everything. So it's more like to give you an idea and give you an inspiration of what you can do with it. So yeah, I mean, right now the challenge for me is that I'm trying to reverse engineer this. But yeah, it's not easy. The good news is that locally and regionally, I do have access to places where I can actually test the prototype if I manage to get to that stage. In terms of the apex, when we talk about the peak, where the healthcare system is going to hit a peak in the region, we are about maybe 3 to 6 weeks away from hitting our apex. So if you work the timeline backwards, I have about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks to come out with a prototype, and then the final 2 weeks to really ramp up the production unit and to do the testing and ramp up production unit. So that is what I'm looking at. So yeah, I mean, we are looking for medical professionals that can work with us on this prototype. The medical professionals I know that have given me this advice to use Medtronics or to reference Medtronics, they are healthcare workers busy on the front line, so they can't really consult in real time. So that is a challenge right now. Yeah.
So thank you, Sherman, for the presentation. I have a question. Now that you have reviewed all the components, do you think that these are readily available in most places, or have you found or discovered any particular component that may be harder to get, even in this time or in the future?
Yes, I realized that some of the components, even like the main CPU, the brain itself, the CPU, my MCU here, is not something that is sort of a discontinued part. I did a search on Mouser. They don't sell it anymore. I don't know whether it's just for this region and this part of the world, but yeah, it's just not available anymore. So I found an alternative, which is a STM L4 MCU. That's a suitable replacement. There are other parts I've also sourced out. I created a list, but I haven't released it because this list is work in progress. But I did find like a lot of the most suitable replacement parts for those parts that won't be available in the region. And these are the parts that, I'll definitely share this list of parts in a Google spreadsheet with other makers in the region, if they are interested to use it as well. So yeah.
Okay, Sherman. So thank you for your question. I think it was really interesting to have this vision after the release and to be able to just check and see teams working on these efforts. I'm going just to give the floor to. Let me just give the floor to. I don't know if David, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I was letting you talk, but I think next one in line is the Resistencia team. So I don't know who from Resistencia is gonna be taking the floor. Okay, David. David, can you please open your microphone, open your screen, and the floor is yours. We have also added that Robert will speak at the end to present the Bentmon because he has some information he would also like to share, and we have the opportunity because we're running really well with time. So David, please, floor is yours.
Okay, may I start video? No, I can. Okay. So I will share a screen here. Can you see it? Can you hear me? Yeah?
Yeah. We can both see you and hear you perfectly. Please, go on.
So I think this is time to think in important and transcendent things. This is time to realize we are just humans, we plan, God has the last word, and this is time to do our little bit to help others. In Spanish we have a say, a Dios rogando y con el mazo dando, sort of strike with the rod why you beg to thy God. So this is why I ended up with these great people. You can see in the photograph, they are in Oviedo, is north of Spain, in the Bioterio of the University of Oviedo. Is a place that where they work with animals and research, and they have places for us to test these machines. So we are very, very proudly announcing and telling you that we have our prototypes working and tested on animals with a lot of success. And we are now struggling because yes, it's not easy to have these machines approved for use on humans and running all over Spain. So we hope to have this done very shortly. But as you know, it doesn't depend only on our work, but it's our desire. So yeah, as David said before, in this journey, it was very difficult to work remotely. Having our prototype, our only prototype in place in Oviedo, and collaborating all from different places in Spain. But some of us were able to join the crew here. So about ventilators, we are a lot of people is working in ventilators. That's great. But we did focus in a ventilator especially designed for the most critical COVID patients that includes PEEP and triggering functions. PEEP is a special function that you require to maintain the lungs of the patient open, because you know with COVID the illness makes the alveoles, the little bags in the lungs, to collapse, and you have to retain a little amount of pressure there. So we comply with that, and also triggering to allow the patient to make autonomous inspirations when he's recovering or she's recovering. So we tested it like a week ago with a little pig. We call it Peppa Peep because of the Peep function. It was great, but it was a test for a healthy patient. And yesterday we did with very great success, as you see in the photograph. Everything is happy. Everyone is happy. We tested it on animals with, simulating the worst situations with liquids flowing in the lungs that in fact you have in COVID patients. So the machine worked really great. This is a second version of it, and this is the one we are about to release because it's open source. It's an open source design. It has mechanical design. It is based on an Arduino Mega 2560 controller board, and has a lot of pressure, flow sensors. Well, a lot, no, only the one you require, but it has a lot of sensing mechanisms. Also, this security release valve for taking care of the lungs of the patient in case something goes wrong, and this PEEP valve. So I don't want to extend in that part. So as I said, it's an open source project, and I will ask you at the end to collaborate with us if you are willing to. So yeah, we are not using a regular AMBU. I'm going to show you a couple of videos if it's okay. I don't know if you can hear them, but anyway, if it's enough if you can watch them. So let me change the sharing. So we are not based in a regular AMBU that is not valid for coronavirus critical patients. It's not valid for, it's not good for continuous ventilation, as it does not clear goodly enough the carbon dioxide out of the lungs. It can provoke death in a maximum of 3 hours. So this is conceived for short-time patient support. But instead of that, we are using a Jackson Rees breathing system, with every hospital has in excess. This gives the name of the project Respirator 25. So I'm going to put one video. Allow me, please. I'm sharing this screen. This is similar to an AMBU, but it's not an AMBU. It's a Jackson-Rees system. And this is to the right, you have a simulator, lung simulator. I will put you a second video, very short too. Okay, so I hope you like it. We are amazed with this working at last. So I am going to show you a last image. Just 1 second. Yes, I have it here. So we could see a lot of amazing things during the procedure. We are very grateful because everyone has been very helpful to help with these difficulties of the time. We had the army bringing us the doctor. We have been working with a lot of doctors and medical opinions, but we have Ramses that is working with us remotely, but now he has been bring to Oviedo for the testings with by the Spanish army. That was great. And we also are I want to thank all our families because it has been a very difficult time. So now in this last image you can see Respirator 23 Resistencia team that is part of coronavirusmakers.org. We are a very huge crew of volunteers, and we are working in small work teams. So we are about to release this part that is a minimum system. In the testing, we used an example of Display Plus system, but it's not the last one. So we are going to release this for all the world. Minimum system is an Arduino Mega 2560 that works as a master. It is totally working. It has a small LCD 20 by 4 characters and some switches, push buttons, and an encoder. This is all you need to have it working. But I will, as I said here, please join us here. We need your help. We have defined a serial protocol so that in every situation, in every scenario, in every country, depending of the display options you need or you have in stock, you can design your own Display Plus system that has graphic display, because the LCD shows all the values, real measures and settings, but you cannot see the graphs, the real-time graphs. So you have a graphic display here. Also, you can put user interface and also IoT connectivity to allow doctors to supervise a group of some ventilators from only a place. So I think that's it. Thank you very much for this opportunity, David and all the staff. I don't know if it's
okay, David, you have a lot of questions, so stay with us.
Okay, great.
There is like a bunch of questions. First of all, I will start by taking the chat from Zoom, because people in Zoom have been very active, and questions have not necessarily been copied to the list we have. So first I was commenting, just to make clear, because people were asking, that this is based on the Jackson-Rees pump. Also, yeah, so the question from Greg was, what does this sound use to create pressure? So it's basically the JSON reason you're pushing with that lever, right?
There is also this question from Robert that says, is Resistencia the same as Coronavirus Maker? Well, Coronavirus Maker is a large community. There are like, I don't know, 16,000 people right now. And Resistencia is one of the teams that just started working on this project, the respirator, but there are also other teams working on other features or other models. But so far, Resistencia is like the one that has gone through the clinical trials and all the stuff.
So
That's right. That's right.
Edwin tells you like excellent work, David, and Sherman congratulates that you're using this processor because think they also can use it. He's saying also, what do you use to control the amount of pressure and controlling the inspiration expiration? If you can confirm the kind of sensor you propose in the design.
Yeah, we are using some. We are using. Well, I can tell you now the exact reference, but we are about to release the full documentation so that it will be released soon. So the thing is, we have been using or testing several different kinds that is depending on the availability on the moment on the market, but with all the different possibilities we have make it work. So it is not difficult to adapt it depending on the stock in the market. There are several options.
Okay, I think that very much answers the question.
And
that you're basically
also
using a sensor to monitor the
Also, there was an option to control the flow with pressure sensing, but finally we are not using pressure sensing for the flow, but a dedicated flow sensor that is very, very precise.
I think that's actually a really good tip because maybe we're using pressure sensors instead of flow sensors. So this is a really, really good tip. Also, Robert's asking whether you can later just publish on the chat, which is the GitLab link to your repository. So when you guys are releasing, they can follow up with you directly.
Great.
Because it was missing on the slides. Also, yeah, it's very encouraging. Again, they ask for a URL. And also, Ignacio says that the Simulink interfaces also use the same, can use the same board. People are looking forward to the documentation. And yeah, some question here. Yeah. Aditya Kombe says that use stepper motor in a scissor-like mechanical design. What are the components and displays and sensor? So I think most likely, I think it's better just to mention which stepper motor you guys are using, just to give people an idea on how much strength you need to push on the Jackson Reese pump.
Yeah, I can answer right now that we are using a NEMA 24. The name was because we started with a NEMA 23, but we are using a little bigger motor. It's a direct drive to a leva in Spanish. I don't know it's a
lever.
A lever, yeah, a lever with a spiral shape that is very, very beautiful to see it, but makes, yeah, this is like a spiral shape lever that moves this mechanism.
Okay.
But it has to be very strong because instead of what we thought at the beginning, you need a lot of strength to push the air to the right speed.
Okay. Also, basically, just the last question from Dario, our head of hardware, is asking, which is the availability of the Reese pump? I think you mentioned it in the beginning, but
yeah, basically, I was about to ask because David said that there are plenty of these in hospitals, and I wonder if he's assuming that hospitals will reuse what they have in house, or if this is something that is usable, easy to source somewhere.
Both, but mainly, as to my knowledge, hospital has this as in intensive care for taking care of patients for a while. The thing is, they have a lot of them, but they don't use it that much because they require a person only for having it pushed all the time. So in opposition to Ambus are now in a little shortage. These ones you have ready to go in many places, many hospitals. And the only thing is you don't have hands enough to move them. So you put this hand that is electronically calibrated and regulated, and with the doctor has eyes on the graphs. So, and it's protected in pressure and volume and everything. It has alarms implemented. So it's a way to reuse the stock they already have. And also, if they need to produce this, it's not very difficult to do that.
So thank you so much. It's probably the most advanced, or without any doubt, it's the most advanced of the ventilators we're seeing here today. So Edwin Chu in the chat just shared a link for flow measurement in mechanical ventilators, a paper that I think we will just resend to everybody in the chat. And so thank you, David. Thank you so much. We hope to see you in the hardware conversation later with Dario, more in depth, to discuss about availability and supply chain, which I know is some of the questions you guys really have right now. And I wonder whether there's anybody else that are missing to talk. Marcos, haha. Marcos, come on, bring it up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Marcos. I am from Brazil. I don't know, do you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, so our project started because we saw that in Europe, in Ireland, and in the United States, a lot of people from nice universities were trying to solve the problem of a ventilator. The problem today is not to build a ventilator, but to build a ventilator on a scale, on economic crisis in the entire world, and with a very few resources for 8 billion people on the planet. On my way of seeing, the problem is not an engineering problem, but a logistical problem, actually. The first thing we saw, the ambu bags, I live in the biggest city on the Southern Hemisphere, and I couldn't find one ambu bag in the entire town. So that was the beginning of our ventilator. We joined forces with Jeremias Almada in Argentina, Washington also in Argentina. We have Ethan Moses in the United States, and 200 other people that thinking to solve the problem on a North African country, or here in the countryside of West Far states of Brazil. So we discarded, we are not considering using stepper motors like on the primarily project. Of course, the stepper motors can be implemented, but they are not easily found in third world countries. Ambu bags also, complex valves, neither. Like complex valves, Parker, that's the biggest manufacturer in the world, cannot produce 5 million valves in, I don't know, 2 years. So it's impossible to solve the problem on this approach. And also compressed air on the central of the hospital is not a possibility for us, because many of the hospitals that the government is making here in Brazil are tents in the middle of football fields. So probably they won't have air compressed, and the air compressed solutions are like shared, and normally 20 patients share on a single compressor. If it fails, that it fails a lot. I do clinical engineering service for more than 700 bases of health here in Sao Paulo with the company, and so we know that compressors fail. We developed like a bellow system with a car tire chamber. We are using a wiper motor, a DC 12 volts car window wiper motor, because it's widely available almost anywhere in the world. And if people need to disassemble a car to save a life, it's possible to do that. The machine is totally agnostic on hardware. So you can use a bellow if you want, or if you have access to an ambu bag, you can put an ambu bag also. We are trying to solve the problem as little as possible on the I don't know how to say the electronics hardware that that's needed for the project. We wanted to be as little as possible. The video I'm showing to you is only a power supply of a PC, a wiper motor, and in this case scenario, we have mechanical volume adjustment from 200 milliliters to 1 liter. That's another complicated problem that people are not thinking, is that you have to pump almost 1 or 1.2 liters in a second actually. So we did 2 models. The one that I'm showing to you in the video is the Spartan model, as we call it, because you don't need any electronics at all. And probably we can save someone on level 2 or 3, possibly, of the coronavirus crisis. This ventilator is only for the coronavirus. And we have a PIP valve, we have a expiratory pressure valve, we have all the mechanics made to work on the system as possible without electronics. But on a level 4 case of the coronavirus, we would need to have electronics, because the curve of the inspiratory pressure and expiratory pressure is very essential, and also the oximeter and the heartbeat sensor. We realized that a lot of CPAP models were generating inflammatory on the patients, and that their recovery was more slow, or even they died because of the inflammatory. So you end killing the patient not of the COVID-19 problem, but with a heart attack problem or something like that. The Spartan model is like almost to be built without any electronics, but we need help to build the Mark II model that will have all the electronics needed to control the pressures and everything that we need to solve. Here is a diagram. So we have the bellow here, and we did with some PVC tubing pipe with a normal hardware store. We built up some check valves, and the diverter valve that Ethan is working right now is to solve all the electronics problems, because with a few valves and a tank of water with bleach inside, we solved the filtering problem, and also the complexity of the involuntary breathe, or if the patient wants to breathe out and the machine is trying to breathe in, and all that kind of weird stuff that happens on a really complicated clinical issue. So our team started working on the Spartan model as a way of trying to solve the problem on a global scale. And after the Spartan model, we say, okay, we have something that works for level 1, you just put a mask with oxygen. Level 2, maybe you can ventilate the person. And like level 1 is someone that's infected and doesn't have symptoms. And level 2 is the mask of oxygen. Level 3 and 4, you have to ventilate the patient. So on level 4, we would need very fancy pressure sensors to have a very good precision on the millimeters of water and the curve that this pressure is taking inside the patient's lungs. On my way of seeing, I saw a lot of engineering approaches, but all these engineering approaches have to consider that we have medical concerns that are really, really important. So we have to pump, for example, a lot of air in a short period of time, like 1 second, and the breathe out must be sometimes like in 6 seconds. That's why, for example, the Spartan model, we are using a simple end switch and a relay to have 2 speeds to adjust, or maybe 3 or 4 with some resistors, and so we can manually jack in a plug and jack out from one and another plug to have this kind of resolution between inspiration and expiration timing. Also the frequency, we have to put a potentiometer to increase the voltage on the motor. And with this Mark II version, that's the most important, that's why we are calling you from Arduino, is that we would need Arduinos and some kind of fancy sensors to solve that, but we won't have the problems of the fancy valves that we like electronic valves. We can use solenoids and some kind of airflow meters and that kind of stuff. But I can show to you, like now we have I have the machine working right now with me. Like you cannot start your video because the host has to stop it. So I cannot show my video camera. But let me see if I can show. Like we have some pipings that we do here on. These are the valves that we made on 3D printing, and we are like making the valves on the PVC tubing.
Marcos,
also,
we can see you right now. I think you have to start your camera.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. I sent you a request when you mentioned that is yeah, you know, the interface.
Start video. You cannot start your video because the host has to stop it. I don't know why.
That's weird. As host, I can tell you, I'm sending you ask start video.
Okay. Maybe I have to rejoin the room, but well, no, it doesn't matter. So I can show it to you here, like on the yeah. So here we have a tubing, and we have the overpressure valve that it opens like automatically if the patient wants to breathe out and we are trying to push air in. So this is adjusted on a tubing, like a Vino tubing. You can find it on hardware store, and we have a ruler on this tubing, and you can put it down. For example, like 40 centimeters if you want as maximum pressure. The PIP valve pressure works in the same principle. So this is like a pneumatic problem that we solved. And the most complex thing is this diverter valve we have here, that when the patient tries to breathe in and breathe out in a really weirdly way, he redirects like oxygen from the main system, or he uses the bellow to push air to the patient, or on the exhalation part, it filters here on the bleach because this tank is full of bleach and we have a UV light up here.
Marcos, I don't want to stop you, but the thing is that we are not seeing anything. You're not sharing your screen right now.
Sorry.
So at some point, it went off. Maybe when you try to share your video or something, and
okay. So
okay.
Really sorry.
Yeah, no
really
worries.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
So I was here with so here I have a video of it working yesterday. I didn't had do you see my screen, right? I used a condom because I didn't had a balloon or a glove. Sorry for that. This is the diverter valve, and we use it like here. I don't have any electronics, and with this tubing system, I adjust the pressure, the max pressure, and the PIP valve pressure. This is bleach, so the bleach is. I don't put the light, so because you have to see, but when the like the lung goes out, all the contaminated air goes through this bleach bubbling system, so we can like as I can show here on the photo. And so our main objective on the project is to solve the problem for the poor people around the world, because I work with clinical engineering, and normally with a couple $1,000 is very easy to solve a ventilator. It's not a hard work. The problem is to make it with a lot of few resources and with the economical situation of the entire globe stop it. Like, for example, HEPA filters that everyone is considering to use. 3M yesterday in the United States was closed by the government because it was a security state situation, and the Americans, like, they are not exporting any more HEPA filters. So also the fancy valves for flux controlling and volume control. And these kind of sensors, they are very, very like handcraft made or something like that. And they are not available everywhere in the world. So we did with some pipe tubing and some, I don't know, like vinyl hosing the entire machine. And we need to improve this machine to use sensors on a global scale, because mostly of the problem is to use like cheap sensors, like the Arduino sensors, for something that has a critical mission control that we have to solve. That's a patient on level 4 of the crisis, for example. About a lot of people is gonna ask about the concerns about improvement and all the kind of stuff. And I suggest you ask that to a mom that has a kid that's dying, and ask if the mom prefers the kid to breathe on a tire chamber of a car for 2 weeks or to die. That's my answer for the clinical people that's worried about. And
okay. Marcos,
okay.
thank you. I think you actually made a really good point. And I have to say, I'm really pleased that you brought your project because it's really showing yet another approach. I have to say some of the projects that we saw in Spain made by car factories were very similar from the perspective that they use the same kind of motor, but they were of course pumping on an bamboo bag instead of having to make their own bag as you guys made here, which I have to say I totally respect. It's a super impressive tool, and I personally also the same opinion that if this is the only solution, we should do it. You know, that's a personal opinion. I'm not representing anybody but myself. But we have a couple of questions that we're running a little bit late, but we're gonna actually make it 3 minutes late if the organizers allow me. So there's a question here. Is it possible to regulate the milliliter inspiration volume?
Yes, so we developed, I can show it here again, sorry. So here on the website, you can see here is a crankshaft, and also we have a rotary disc. And this rotary disc, we have several, here you can see better. This was the old version. So one part of the disc is for motors that spin less than 180 degrees, and the other part of the holes on the motor is for wiper motors that rotate more than 180, so 360 degrees. Each hole is a resolution. So we have from 200 milliliters to 1 liter of volume, but we had to increase these to 1.6 liters. So it's not a big deal. This is a manual adjustment. So the doctor, and this is the kind of thing that doesn't change in a clinical situation. So you keep the volume mostly constant when you stabilize the patient.
There's one more question. Is there a relief valve in the circuit? I worry about the 1 liter volume over 1 second.
Yeah, for 1 liter volume is for a guy like 120 kilos, not for an old lady who is 90 years old. Okay, so this is a medical question. Yes, we have an overpressure valve, so you can regulate this overpressure valve between whatever you want, from 10 centimeters of water to 1 meter of water. Probably with 1 meter you can kill the patient, but the recommended maximum is 50 centimeters of water. 50, 60.
Thank you. Well, Rob Collins wanted to join the last second. He says that the connection is not reliable on his side. So, Rob, I'm sorry. Thanks for coming, but we have to move on. There is a lot of kudos for Marcos. And actually, people here say that you should not be ashamed of showing the condom video. I mean, you get 10 points for creativity from Sherman, and +1 from me. I have to say, I didn't see it coming, and I'm really glad that you know, you use whatever. At least you made tests. Some other people don't even make tests, but
yes.
I really love the presentation. So I think I want to thank everybody for this first session. I hope that all of you brought a second person to be
David,
at the legal panel. I think,
so,
Marcos, you also came with
so
somebody
anyone
else,
that's
right?
willing to join us, just open ventilator.io.
Okay.
Okay.
Of course. Sorry, I forgot about mentioning that. So as I said, Sherman is mentioning that he knows how he can collaborate with you. He's saying just right now in the chat, and he's giving some open source designs on 3D printable flow sensing devices and other things that he thinks could help you because they will cost nothing.
Okay,
So,
please join our Slack channel, and on the hardware, we kind of need to solve the problem. Like, imagine that you are on an Indian village in the very far away town in Brazil. So you have mostly a hardware store and some kind of electronics. And if you are blessed, Arduino will send a board for you.
well, that could be discussed. So yeah, by the way, as we were talking, I just found the setting for turning on the camera. Okay, thank you everybody that participated in this panel. I'm really glad that we got such a broad selection of presenters. I want to thank Alessandra Nelucci, who's at the other panel, who helped us choosing the panelists. Now we have to move on to the next set of panels. So we're gonna use a couple of minutes to just get a glass of water, change room to the other room. So whoever is going to be discussing about the legal aspects around their projects, please stay on this room. Whoever is going to be willing to discuss with Dario Benisi, our head of hardware and firmware, about supply chain, software, firmware of any kind, please join room number 2, and we will continue talking. Thank you so much. And virtual high fives to everybody. So right now it's 7:04 in Sweden. We are running 4 minutes late, but we're gonna give ourselves another 5 minutes so that we can move on. In the meanwhile, Marcos is taking the opportunity to show his machine running live now that the camera works. Great. Okay.
So this is the overpressure. So we have the ruler here that we adjust the centimeters. And this is the crankshaft that I wanted to show you. So and really sorry, guys. I am really worried because a lot of people is starting to die here in Brazil.
Don't be sorry. We will see what we can do to help you out. So please join us in the other meeting and discuss with Dario about the possibilities.
Okay.
Thank you so much.